This is the first level in the game. As you can see, the arrow keys are to move, X is to restart level, and escape is to quit to menu. In each level of this game, the goal is to push down all these boxes, and then your launch pad will turn blue, and then you need to simply step on it to continue to the next level. This level is designed to teach you the basics of certain mechanics that will show up later in the game. As you can see when you're walking, if you try to change direction, then your head turns before you walk, but you can walk backwards without changing direction. So, if you face towards a block with a handle and walk backwards, it will pull the block. Over here is a ladder. The textures are only temporary, obviously, but if you walk in the ladder, you'll climb to the top, and then we can push this block down and put it on the button. This level is just designed to teach you those two basic mechanics. This is the first level that involves entanglement. There are two entangling machines down at the bottom, and you'll see when I press Z, the one on the right turns blue. The machines down at the bottom determine how the blocks and everything else throughout the world entangles that is blue. Only things that are blue will entangle. As you can see, this block is actually in two places at once. It is both here and here. What you can tell is if I push this block, the other block will push as well, because it's being pushed the same, it's just being pushed from a different location. Now that I have the block in two places at once, it can be on two buttons at once, and I can finish the level. This level is the first non-tutorial puzzle in the game. As you can see, when I push Z, it entangles. However, you may not have realized it first, but this, if I push off the cliff, will not fall. The reason this is because this block on the right is also sitting on the platform on the left. It is in two places at once, and one of those two places is sitting on a platform, and so the other block acts as if it's sitting on the platform. This works with both of the two instances of the block. So that means that I can come over here and push over to the edge, and when I push it off the edge, instead of falling, it will transition from sitting on the platform, the large platform, to sitting on a small platform with a button. This puzzle is a simple puzzle designed to teach you a few other mechanics. As you can see, when I press Z, the block entangles itself over here so I can walk across. However, in order to push this, I need to unentangle. I cannot push it forward right now. I'm trying to push and it won't work because, as you can see, it is entangled inside the wall block. And because it's inside the wall, it can't get pushed out of the wall because it's stuck. If I unentangle and push forward, then it will activate it. But as you can see, if I push it now, then it's no longer inside the wall block and it can move freely. This level is a little bit tricky. As you can see, the only entangled piece in this level is on top of this ladder, and the only button is over here. It seems simple. However, putting the block on the button is not the only part of the puzzle. You also have to return back to where you started. In order to do that, however, I must cross this gap, which is broken, and I cannot cross it. So, in order to pass this level, I first have to push this block underneath the gap. So then when I climb up this ladder and push the block off, it will fall there. Now my path is good. However, I cannot exit because the block isn't on the button. In order to get the block on the button, I have to remove this. And it would seem that this would be impossible because then the block would fall and I wouldn't be able to get on the button. However, if I entangle this, you can see it entangles inside the floor block. Because of that, I can push this out without it falling, put it on the button, and successfully complete the level. And you can see, if I unentangle it now, it will fall. This level is a callback to a previous level, the 4th level in the game, in which you push the block across the gap. However, this gap is much larger, and I also have 2 blocks. Now that I've learned that I can put things inside other things, this level is quite simple. As you can see, if I push right now, entangle, it will appear like that. And so, what I can do is simply push this forward and entangle like that. It looks like there's 3 instances of blocks here. However, in the block in front of me, there's actually both blocks, the left one and the right one. With this in mind, I can now push, and as you can see, both blocks on the left, do not fall, because one of the blocks is inside another block and stuck in it, and the other block is sitting on the platform. Because of this, I can now reach the long distance and get the button. This level is the first level in the game in which the player is blue. This introduces a cool new mechanic, as if I press Z, there are now 2 players, which are both moving and both existing in different locations at the same time. This level is fairly simple, it's just meant to introduce the idea. This block also down here shows that blocks don't all have to be square, and this block is rectangular, and to solve this puzzle, it might seem like I can't make it up to the top. However, I am simultaneously over here at the same time, so I can climb up the ladder on the left and get up to the platform on the right. This puzzle is a simple, fun puzzle designed to show 2 mechanics coming together. As you can see, I myself am entangled. However, this block over here I cannot pull because it does not have a handle. I can't push it either, and there's seemingly no way that I can get it out of this corner. However, if I entangle myself over here, you can see that I can position myself right here and put myself inside this box. And now I can pull it out by being inside it. There's another cool way to move blocks if you are able to be entangled. This level is a fun level I designed to show some of the consequences of being in 2 places at once. The grid pattern would normally not let you move at all. However, because there is an opposite grid pattern taking up the blank squares over here, I can move freely on this area. I'm moving from being on a platform on the left to being on a platform on the right, but to the character it seems like it is just one giant platform. I can now go over here and just push this box with ease and finish the level. This is just a simple, fun level, and I don't want all my levels to just be puzzles. This level introduces a huge new mechanic in the game, and if you look closely at the bottom, and you can see with the help of my enormous text, that the 2 machines are no longer identical, one is backwards. This seemingly small change creates a ton of cool and unique new puzzles, because, as you can clearly see, if I push Z, it entangles, but the entanglement is reflected instead of translated. If I push this forward, then the other one moves backwards. And you can see that X is only there to give hints, that it does not serve any function except for that. And you can see that I can now finish the level as the blocks are mirrored. This puzzle is designed to show some more of the interesting things that happen when blocks can be mirrored instead of just translated. I have an array of blocks out here, and I have 5 buttons that I have to put them on. I can pull these blocks, and this shows kind of how they are reflected, and you can play around with them a little bit. You see, you can't push it into the center because there's one block there that both blocks are trying to take up. I got those blocks on those buttons. Now these blocks are on these buttons. But if I try to put this block on this button, they're both trying to take up the same space. Solve this, I just unreflect and walk over here. Now I can push this block back onto this button. You can see that this block actually it takes up two places at once. I'm trying to push right now, and it will not push. And if I go over the other side and try to push there, it will not push there either. The only way it will push is forwards and backwards. This block is now locked to a two-dimensional plane instead of a three-dimensional plane. And the reason this is because if I try to push it from the left or from the right, it's trying to move in both directions at once, because it's trying to move in its normal right direction and in the reflected left direction at once. But I can push up and down just fine. With all the blocks on the buttons, I can now finish the level. This puzzle looks deceptively simple, but some people find it quite tricky. The block at the bottom is reflected, and if I try to push it, you can see that it's reflected. It seems like I can just push the two boxes onto the buttons. However, that now blocks my path back to the exit. To solve this, I need to simply push the block to the other side of the reflected grid. If I try to push it while it's reflected, it will bump into itself. And so I have to unreflect and push it past. And now I can unreflect and get past. This level is designed to teach you two principles. The first one is that both blocks, although are equal, are not completely equal mechanically, as you can press Z to get rid of one of them, and you cannot press Z to get rid of the other. The other thing this teaches is that you can switch sides, and sometimes that can help. You can imagine that there is an invisible mirror, not present in the game in reality, here in the middle, that reflects the blocks across. However, you can't imagine this completely because you can unreflect and get rid of the mirror and switch it to the other side of the mirror, like you're passing through a mirror. This puzzle is the first puzzle that I designed while creating this game. It's also one of my favorite puzzles. In order to get to the center platform, I have to reflect so that I can stand on the block that is on the right. If I unreflect, however, you can see that the block falls down and I can't get back to the starting spot, and so that means that I cannot finish the level. Normally I would be able to maybe reflect myself into the block and pull it out, but the block's missing there, so I can't do that. So I can't finish the level now because the block's in the way, so I have to restart. So in order to finish this level, I have to keep it reflected the entire time. This level seems simple. I can just push this block over here, come over here, and push the other block to the other button. But there's a problem. The block gets trapped the moment I do that. I can't unreflect, and so there's an invisible wall here. If I try to cross it, I'll bump into myself. I can't cross anywhere. And this block I'm trying to pull right now, and it will not pull. I can't push it either because I'm in the way. It seems like this block is just stuck here forever in block purgatory. However, the block is not blue. I can remember that I can take this other block over here and use this other block to push it out, like that. Now I can pull both these blocks back and push them into their correct position and finish the level. This puzzle is probably the most difficult puzzle in the game currently. There is a huge block down here that almost serves as a bridge, except for that one block is missing, so it's broken. You need to get two blocks over to the other side to be able to put on those two buttons in order to finish. We have one block over there and one block here, but this block needs to be able to cross this broken bridge in order to get to the other side and get put on the button. The entanglement in this level looks a bit out of the ordinary. As you can see, one of them is higher than the other. They're also reflected. If I push Z, it appears below the stage. And if I push this forward, then the one below there gets pushed forward. But if I pull this one backwards, then the one below there gets pulled the other way because it is reflected that way and translated the other way. So, how can I get the block from that side to this side. The solution to this puzzle is a little bit complicated. I'm going to come over here and push Z to turn off the reflection, and then I'm going to put this block on top of this X. Now when I push Z here to entangle, you can see that it comes up inside the bridge. Now if I push it forward, the block on the top is going to move left and the block on the bottom is going to move right, and when I do that, you can see that with one push, the block moved 2 spaces. This is very important because now that I can push one block 2 spaces, I can take this block here and push it right here, and then when I push this block forward, it will move 2 spaces because both the block is moving 1 space to the right and the bridge is moving 1 space to the left. This puzzle is very interesting to me because it basically means that if you can do this entangling thing, then you can move at double speed, which is an interesting and unintended consequence of the core idea. Now that I have both blocks on this side, I can simply put them both on the buttons and then finish the level. This final level is a little bit out of the ordinary. I wanted this level to be a sort of pattern break. All the other levels in the game so far are very pristine, geometric, and simple, but this level looks decayed and destroyed. This level is also, you might notice, the same as level 14, which is the Black Purgatory level, except that it is destroyed. This level, you really have to think outside the box to solve. You could see that down there, one of the blocks has fallen, and you are no longer entangled. However, this block that was previously on your head has fallen down, and you can now push it around instead of having to keep it up in the wall. This puzzle looks impossible because both the buttons are unreachable. This button here is connected diagonally, so you can't actually push anything to it, and this button here is completely disconnected from the central platform. The solution to this puzzle is a little bit mind-blowing. You might see, if I push Z here, that there is a 1 block gap there. If I push forward, the grid is broken. The reason the grid has been broken in the past, but the reason that it didn't affect the puzzle at all was because there were handles on the blocks. So when I walked forward and then stepped backwards, I pulled the blocks back into their normal positions. Since there are no handles here, I only push them forward, and then I do not pull them back. So the grid is broken here, which is very interesting. If I push Z, there is now a box that is on a broken grid. I can now, if I push it, then it goes back on the grid because I'm on the grid. But if I do it from this side, then it will be broken on that space right there. Now what I can do is I can push this block over here, press Z, and now we effectively have a 1.5 block wide block. And with this 1.5 wide block, we can push it right on over here and cross that diagonal because it's on both blocks. It goes from being on the left block to being on the right block, and it doesn't have to hit any of those empty squares. And that's the simple solution to this level. This level I like a lot because it might be my favorite level in the game, the last one, because it doesn't feel like it should be possible. And originally when I was designing this game, I was trying to figure out how I could make it so that you couldn't break the grid, because it seemed like I didn't want to make it happen. But once I thought about it, I realized that there's no reason I couldn't have you break the grid, and I could, in fact, make it into a really cool puzzle. So that is the last level of this short demo. But thank you so much for watching and playing, and This is my demo for the game.